In the dark depths of Manila National Forest, the sun had set, leaving an eerie cloak of shadows that enveloped the towering trees. Justice, a once proud K9 German shepherd, lay crumpled on the forest floor, his body bruised and battered. The roar of motorcycles echoed through the woods, a menacing reminder of the gang that had abandoned him. Though he was trained to be strong and fearless, the excruciating pain from his wounds did nothing to bolster his fading spirit. What did I do to deserve this? Justice thought bitterly, as he struggled to lift his weary head. The gang members had been ruthless, using him and then discarding him like a broken toy. He remembered the moments of glory he had shared with Officer Daniels, his handler, when they had solved cases together. I was supposed to protect, not be left to die alone. Justice thought, his heart heavy. Suddenly, the laughter of the biker gang broke through his thoughts, their loud voices surrounding him as they revved their engines. That dog's useless now. Just leave him here. He heard one of them snicker, a cruel tone laced in his voice. Justice felt a pang of despair. He barked weakly, but the noise was lost in the cacophony of the gang's roaring laughter. As the gang finally drove away into the distance, leaving him in suffocating silence, Justice fought back tears of hopelessness. "It's over for me," he whispered, his voice barely audible. But from the shadows, a pair of curious eyes watched. Rusty, a stray ragdoll cat, had been navigating the wilds of the forest for years. He had survived on his own, hardened by solitude and the unpredictability of nature. Rusty's fur was matted, and his once fluffy coat now clung to his thin frame. He had witnessed endless battles for survival, yet something about the injured dog stirred an old longing for companionship deep within him. "What's a big dog like you doing all alone?" Rusty asked quietly, approaching cautiously. "You look worse than I do." His voice was confident, yet there was an underlying thread of concern as he scanned Justice's battered body. Justice turned his head slowly, first surprised by the appearance of the cat who dared intrude in his despair. "Why do you care?" he asked hoarsely. "You should run. I can't even stand, let alone defend myself. You're just a cat." "Maybe so," Rusty replied, tilting his head. "But I've seen many things out here. You're not meant to die like this. Everybody deserves help, even someone as tough as you." Justice stared at the little creature, disbelief mixing with a flicker of hope. "Help? What could you possibly do for me? I'm broken." Rusty sat down, his blue eyes unwavering. "I might be small, but I'm smarter than I look. If you don't get help, you'll die here. And if there's one thing I know, it's that being alone is the hardest fight of all." "You don't understand," Justice murmured, his voice cracking. "I was once strong, a protector. Now, I'm just a shadow of what I used to be." Rusty shook his head. "Listen, I get it, but I also know that nothing lasts forever. You can choose to give up or you can fight back. Together, we could escape this, you know." Caught off guard by Rusty's determination, Justice felt something shift within him. The idea of uniting with another creature, even a scrappy little cat, presented a glimmer of possibility he had thought extinguished. Slowly, he shifted his weight, trying unsuccessfully to rise. "Let me help you," Rusty urged, stepping closer. "Just lean on me. It's better than lying here waiting for the end." Justice hesitated, the vulnerability of leaning on someone else making him uncomfortable. "You would be risking your own safety for me? Why?" Rusty smirked calculatedly, a flicker of warmth flashing across his face. "Because I can't just leave you to die. I'm tired of being alone. And honestly, I think you might need a friend." Finally, Justice felt a surge of defiance that broke through the despair. "All right," he said, the fire rekindling in his eyes. "Let's do this." Rusty hopped up and walked beside him, ready to lead the way. "First things first," he said. "We need to find a way out of this forest, and I can help you with that." As they moved forward with cautious determination, Justice felt an unfamiliar sense of hope. The darkness that enveloped him was now accompanied by the soft padding of Rusty's footsteps, remnants of companionship in a world that had nearly forgotten him. In this moment, against all odds, Justice began to realize that perhaps he was not as alone as he had once believed. Together, they would face the wilderness, overcoming exhaustion, hunger, and fear. Two unlikely allies bound by fate and the promise of survival. As they emerged from the dark canopy of the trees, the faint light of dawn began to break through, hinting at a new beginning. And for the first time in what felt like forever, Justice believed that maybe, just maybe, he could rise again. As dawn broke over the Manila National Forest, a soft golden light filtered through the dense canopy, illuminating the rugged path ahead. Justice and Rusty moved slowly, each step a testament to their determination to escape the hollow pain of the previous night. "I can't believe you're doing this," Justice said, his voice still hoarse but laced with newfound strength. "Why do you care so much about me?" Rusty glanced up, his blue eyes bright with determination. "Because I know what it's like to be alone. I've had to survive in this forest without anyone. You deserve better than this, and maybe I do too." Justice was surprised by Rusty's forthrightness. "You really think we can make it out together?" "Absolutely," Rusty exclaimed with more enthusiasm than he felt. "If we combine your strength and my wits, we'll find our way. Let's just keep moving." Ignoring the pain in his legs, Justice pushed forward, careful not to lose his footing among the roots and rocks. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and foliage, an environment both friendly and threatening. After a short while, they came across a small stream, the sound of running water soothing the silence. Justice paused, watching the water flow, his thirst becoming unbearable. "I need a drink," he said, staggering toward the edge. "Be careful," Rusty warned, quick to follow. "Don't slip." Justice knelt by the stream, gratefully lapping at the cool water. "This feels good," he said, his spirits briefly lifted as he drank. "Thank you, Rusty. I never could have imagined a cat would become my savior." "Don't mention it," Rusty replied nonchalantly, puffing out his chest. "Just doing my part." He couldn't shake the feeling that helping Justice offered him a chance to redefine his own existence. As they rested by the stream, Rusty took a moment to observe Justice more closely. Underneath the bruises and dirt was a formidable being, a warrior with years of experience. "So, what was it like being a K-9 cop?" he asked curiously. Justice looked up, catching the light in his eyes. "It was incredible. We had a bond that transcended words. My handler, Officer Daniels, and I were a team. We protected our community, solved crimes together, saved lives. I felt invincible." "Then what happened?" Rusty pressed gently. Justice sighed, the weight of grief settling back in. "I was betrayed by the gang we were trying to take down. They got their hands on me when I was on a mission, and I thought they'd end my life right there. But I never expected to be left abandoned, discarded like trash." Rusty's expression softened. "I'm sorry. I can't imagine that kind of pain, but you're still here. Doesn't that count for something? It means you have a second chance." "Second chances are hard to come by," Justice replied, his gaze distant. "Especially for someone like me." Rusty puffed up and declared, "Well, let me tell you something. You've got a friend now. Let's find a place to stay, and I'll help you heal. We'll make a plan." As if responding to his words, the forest around them began to hum with life. Birds chirped, and the rustling of leaves broke the stillness, reflecting a world full of possibilities. Rusty's optimism began to rekindle a spark within Justice he thought he had lost forever. They continued on, moving with more purpose as they navigated their way through the underbrush. After a while, they stumbled into a small glade filled with vibrant wildflowers. Rusty couldn't help but admire it. "Look at this place. It's beautiful," he exclaimed, bounding ahead. "We can't stop now," Justice said, but he couldn't suppress the fondness creeping into his heart. "You enjoy it, little one." Rusty pranced around, playfully swatting the flowers. "You should join me. Relax a little. I mean, who gets to see such beauty in the wild?" Justice chuckled, a sound that surprised him. "All right, a quick break," he conceded, settling down carefully to avoid jarring his injuries. As Rusty twirled and played, Justice watched, a warmth spreading inside him that he hadn't felt in ages. For the first time since the betrayal, he felt part of something again. "Stay close, Rusty," Justice said as they resumed their journey. "We'll need each other's help more than ever." "You can count on me," Rusty replied enthusiastically. "But first, I think we need to find some food. I can sense a rabbit or two around here. Just follow my lead." Justice smiled at his newfound companion's spirit. "All right, lead the way, little hunter." Rusty guided them to a section of the forest bustling with small animals. Stealthily, he showed Justice how to stick to the shadows, using both their instincts to work as a unit. After a few near misses, Rusty managed to catch a small rabbit, and they shared it. Justice savored the taste with gratitude, while Rusty beamed with pride at his successful hunt. "Not bad for a stray cat, wouldn't you say?" Rusty teased, licking his paws clean. Justice chuckled again, this time without hesitation. "You could be a K9 partner one day. I'll just have to teach you some tricks." "Tricks? I can't wait. You'll make me the best cat in town." As the day turned to dusk, the fading light painted the sky with hues of orange and purple. They trekked deeper into the forest, the air crisp and cool. "We need to find shelter for the night," Rusty said, his tone more serious now. "I know a place where we can rest safely." "Lead on," Justice replied, a sense of determination settling in them both. As they journeyed forward, each step taken side by side felt less like a struggle and more like a partnership. Two survivors against the odds, united by fate and fortitude. In the gathering darkness, an unlikely bond began to form, as Justice learned that trust could still be nurtured, while Rusty discovered the beauty of companionship, a reminder that even the most broken spirits could find healing together. As night enveloped the Manila National Forest, Justice and Rusty pushed deeper into the undergrowth, guided by the faint glimmer of the moon illuminating their path. The blanket of darkness cloaked them, adding a sense of urgency to their search for shelter. The chill of the night air sparked a newfound determination within them. They needed a refuge to regain their strength. "I think I know a place," Rusty said, his voice sharp in the stillness. "There's a cabin not too far from here. It's abandoned, but I've used it as a hideout before. We can rest there for the night." "Lead the way, Rusty," Justice replied, his gait steady despite the lingering pain in his body. The thought of rest spurred him on. It wasn't long before they arrived at the small, weathered cabin nestled between the trees. The wooden structure had seen better days, its once vibrant paint peeling away under the relentless embrace of nature. But it stood strong against the elements, with a roof intact and four walls standing protectively around its interior. "Here we are," Rusty announced, his tail flicking with excitement as he approached the door. "Watch your step. It might be a bit creaky inside." With a gentle nudge, Rusty pushed the door open, and they stepped inside. The air was stale, thick with the scent of old wood and mildew. An assortment of broken furniture lay scattered about, remnants of what was once a cozy hideaway. "Not exactly a five-star hotel, is it?" Justice mused, examining the place with a mix of skepticism and intrigue. Rusty wrinkled his nose. "What do you expect? A palace? It's temporary, and most importantly, it keeps us safe." He hopped onto an old wooden chair, testing its stability. Justice chuckled. "All right then, I'll take your word for it." Rusty landed gracefully on the floor, glancing around with his keen eyes. "I'll scout the area. Make sure there aren't any surprises waiting for us." "I appreciate it, Rusty." "Thank you." Justice settled down near the door, keeping a vigilant watch. As he lay down, the pain in his body began to ease slightly, the adrenaline subsiding. He closed his eyes for just a moment, feeling a sense of relief wash over him. Moments later, Rusty returned, his demeanor serious. "I didn't sense any threats outside, but we need to keep an eye on our surroundings. The gang might come looking for you." Justice exhaled slowly. "I won't let them take me again," he said, determination solidifying in his heart. As the hours passed, Rusty curled up beside Justice, his warmth a comforting presence in the chilly cabin. "You know, it's different having company," Rusty remarked softly, flicking his ear. I don't think I've ever really had anyone protect me before. I'll keep an eye out tonight if you promise to do the same. I promise, Justice replied, a newfound sense of obligation blooming within him, just like I would for my partner. The night deepened, and exhaustion lulled them both. Justice drifted in and out of sleep, his dreams filled with flashes of memories from his time in the service and the bond he shared with Officer Daniels. But now, mixed into those memories were thoughts of Rusty, a little cat who had chosen to stand by his side, even when it seemed hopeless. As the first rays of dawn broke through the trees, painting the cabin in shades of gold, Justice awoke to find Rusty already on alert, staring out through a crack in the door. What is it? Justice asked, instinctively rising to his feet. Rusty's ears perked up, and he whispered, I think I heard something, just outside. Justice inhaled deeply, his instincts kicking in. Let's be cautious. Rusty moved quietly to the door, nudging it open just enough to peek outside. The coast is clear for now, but I think we should head out soon. We can't stay here for too long. Agreed, Justice replied, also glancing out into the forest, feeling the weight of uncertainty in the air. Let's find somewhere safer. They ventured out of the cabin, the dew-kissed grass crunching beneath their paws. Justice took a moment to survey the forest around them. We should stick to the path and keep moving. I don't want to draw attention to ourselves. Rusty followed closely, his green eyes scanning the surroundings for any sign of danger. Don't worry, I've lived out here my whole life. I know where to hide. After a while, they found themselves in a clearing laden with tall grass and wildflowers swaying gently in the breeze. It felt peaceful, almost idyllic. This place is beautiful, Rusty said, breathing in the floral scents. What do you think? Justice nodded, feeling a sense of calm wash over him. It is. I wish I could share this moment with Officer Daniels. He would have appreciated the beauty of it. Rusty could sense Justice's longing. You will. Once we're safe, you can tell him about our adventures together. Besides, I'm sure he's looking for you. I hope so. He deserves to know I'm okay, Justice replied solemnly. Let's focus on the now, Rusty suggested playfully, leaping into the grass. Be careful. If I can catch you, I'm the fastest around. Justice's instinct kicked in, and he playfully chased after him, their laughter mingling with the gentle rustling of the grass. While Justice was larger and stronger, Rusty's agility brought a spark back into his spirit. Suddenly, a noise broke through their game, a snapping branch that came from the nearby thicket. Justice froze, instincts on high alert. Did you hear that? Rusty perked his ears. Yes, I did. In that moment, everything shifted from lightheartedness to tension. They turned to face the noise, and before they could react, shadows emerged from the brush. A couple of figures, unmistakably the bikers who had abandoned Justice. Look who we found. The mutt managed to survive. One of the gang members shouted, a wicked grin spreading across his face. The others joined in, circling around. Justice felt a surge of adrenaline rush through him. Rusty, get back, he barked, positioning himself protectively in front of the cat. But Rusty stood firm, ready to fight alongside Justice. I'm not leaving you. Just trust me, Justice urged, keeping his gaze focused on the gang. You need to find safety. I can handle this. You think we're just going to let you walk away? The gang member sneered, tossing a sinister glance at Rusty. Looks like he's got a new friend. How sweet. Justice growled, his instincts telling him to defend not just himself but his newfound companion. Get away from us, he barked, his voice stronger now. As the bikers approached, Rusty darted to Justice's side, hissing, We'll show them what we can do together. Justice glanced down at Rusty, feeling a swell of affection and solidarity. All right then, let's do this. In an acrobatic display, Rusty leaped forward, distracting the gang members while Justice, fueled by instinct and loyalty, lunged into action. Get him! One of the bikers shouted, lunging at Justice, but the dog was faster and stronger, He dodged the attack and flung himself at the biker, knocking him aside. Rusty took advantage, sprinting around the group, his agile body weaving in and out, preparing to pounce on the legs of any intruder that got too close. With courage bolstered by the solidarity of their partnership, Justice and Rusty fought together against the gang. Amidst the chaos, they managed to keep the bikers at bay, their desperation morphing into a determination neither knew they possessed. The tide of the battle shifted when Rusty spotted a rock and rolled it toward Justice, shouting, "Use it! Protect yourself!" Justice seized the moment, grabbing the rock in his mouth before swinging it at one of the bikers, who stumbled back. Rusty's fearlessness inspired Justice further, and they began to find a rhythm in their synergy. Eventually, the bikers, taken aback by the fierce defense and unique alliance, decided to retreat. "You're lucky this time, Mutt. This isn't over," one of them yelled as they backed away, disappearing into the trees. In the aftermath of the confrontation, Justice and Rusty stood breathless in the clearing, their hearts racing. "We did it!" Rusty cried, his eyes wide with adrenaline. "Justice, we really did it!" Justice allowed himself a relieved breath and smirked. "I guess we make a pretty good team after all." Rusty grinned, his tail twitching with excitement. "Let's find Sarah. I think we're going to need her help now more than ever." Side by side, the two continued their journey deeper into the woods, their hearts still pounding from the encounter. They could feel the bond of friendship strengthening between them. Rusty was no longer just a stray, he was a partner. And Justice, once broken, found himself healing amidst the courage they had discovered in each other. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, Justice and Rusty pressed on through the dense foliage, their adrenaline slowly subsiding but replaced by a sense of determination. They needed to find safety, and in their hearts, they both knew they had to reach Sarah, the kind-hearted woman Rusty had mentioned before. "I can smell something nice," Rusty said, sniffing the air as they walked. "I think we're getting close." "What does it smell like?" Justice inquired, keeping pace beside his smaller companion, both of them alert to any lingering danger in the forest. "Home-cooked meals," Rusty replied dreamily. "It's been a while since I've had a proper meal." Justice smiled, remembering the gourmet treats he used to receive from Officer Daniels. "Well, let's hope Sarah has some scraps we can share," he said with a light-hearted chuckle. After a few more winding trails, they spotted a small cabin nestled in a clearing, surrounded by vibrant flowers and a modest garden. Smoke curled from the chimney, and the faint sound of a radio playing soft folk music drifted through the air. "Here it is," Rusty exclaimed with excitement, dashing toward the front porch. "This is Sarah's place. She's the sweetest woman you'll ever meet." Justice cautiously approached, feeling a mix of hope and uncertainty. He was still a broken dog, and he worried about being seen as a liability. "Are you sure she'll accept us?" he asked, hesitating on the porch steps. "Trust me," Rusty replied, looking up at the dog with genuine confidence in his eyes. "She has a heart of gold. Let's just pray she's home." With a soft paw, Rusty knocked on the wooden door, and after a moment, it creaked open to reveal Sarah, an elderly woman with silver hair pulled back into a loose bun. Her face lit up with delight as she saw Rusty. "Oh, Rusty, what a surprise," she said warmly, bending down to pet him. "And who's this?" Her gaze shifted to Justice, concern mingling with kindness as she took in his wounded form. "This is Justice," Rusty introduced. "He needs help. We've been through a lot." "I see," Sarah murmured, her heart aching for the injured dog. "Come in, both of you. Let's get you some food and clean that mess up." Justice felt a rush of relief as he stepped inside the cozy cabin, filled with the smell of roasted vegetables and herbs. It felt warm and welcoming, a stark contrast to the harsh reality of the forest. "Thank you, Sarah," Justice said, his voice unexpectedly emotional. "I promise I won't be a burden." "Nonsense. You're not a burden," she replied brightly, rushing to prepare a meal. "You've both had a rough time. It's only right to take care of you." As they settled in, Sarah served up generous portions of food. Justice devoured his meal, each bite nourishing not just his body but also his spirit. Rusty, too, relished the warmth and comfort, enjoying every morsel and feeling good in a way he hadn't experienced in years. "Thank you, Sarah. This is incredible," Justice said after finishing, looking up at her gratefully. "I'm glad you liked it, dear," Sarah said gently. "You're safe here, and I want you both to feel at home." After dinner, they gathered around the modest living room, and Justice shared his story, his voice steady as he recounted his past as a K-9 officer, his partnership with Officer Daniels, the thrill of chasing down criminals, and the pride he felt wearing the badge. "I never thought I'd end up here, abandoned and broken," he concluded, feeling the weight of vulnerability in the air. Rusty nudged his side, offering silent reassurance. "You're home now," Sarah said, her voice soothing, "and I'm here to help you heal." Justice felt a glimmer of hope spark within him as he observed the genuine concern in Sarah's eyes. For the first time in a long while, he felt like he could truly trust someone again. Rusty shifted closer to Sarah, snuggling against her leg. "Just wait until you see Justice and me take on the world together," he chirped, his usual bravado returning. "I'd love to see that." Sarah laughed, a twinkle of warmth in her eyes. "You both are special in your own ways. I believe you can achieve anything together." But as they shared stories and laughter, a shadow lurked at the periphery of their newfound comfort. Outside, the distant sound of engines revving neared, shattering the peaceful ambience like a sudden storm. "Rusty, Justice, I think we need to be careful," Sarah said, her tone shifting to concern. "It sounds like trouble is coming." Justice's heart raced. He remembered the gang well and the danger they posed, like a story that never seemed to end. "We'll defend this place," he said firmly, an old instinct awakening within him. With sudden resolve, Justice rose from his spot, placing himself protectively near the door, while Rusty stayed at Sarah's side, alert and ready. "They can't take us again. We'll fight," Justice declared, adrenaline coursing through him as he stared towards the door, focusing on the sound of the approaching bikers. A loud banging echoed through the wood, and suddenly, the door swung open violently. The gang members stormed in, 3 burly figures with menacing expressions, their eyes darting around the room, searching for Justice. "There you are. We're not finished with you yet," the gang leader spat, hatred emanating from his words. "Get away from them," Justice barked, stepping forward to block their path, fierce protectiveness rolling off him in waves. Rusty jumped onto a nearby table, hissing defensively. "You won't touch Justice or Sarah. Cute little kitty thinks he's tough?" One of the gang members laughed, but the laughter was short-lived as Justice lunged forward, ready to defend his newfound family. "Leave us alone," Justice growled, sensing the tension in the air. "You chose to abandon me. Now you'll regret it." Sarah's voice trembled as she stepped between Justice and the intruders. "You have no right to come in here like this. Get out, or I will call the police." "Who's going to listen to an old hag?" the gang leader sneered, lunging toward her. But before he could reach her, Justice charged forward, teeth bared, a fierce protector's snarl escaping him. The confrontation erupted into chaos. Justice fought fiercely, his instincts kicking in. Rusty darted around the gang members, tripping their feet and causing further confusion. "Get the cat!" one of the bikers yelled, swatting at Rusty as he dodged, nimbly evading capture. "Not today," Rusty exclaimed, leaping to avoid the blow, scrambling under the table to evade their grasp. Justice threw his weight into a biker, knocking him against the wall. "Stay close to Sarah," he shouted, aware of his duty to protect not just himself but his new family. Rusty, using his agility to his advantage, distracted another biker by climbing atop the bookshelf, knocking down trinkets as he went. The biker shouted, stumbling backward as Rusty hissed defiantly. "You think you can take us?" Justice snarled, steadying himself for another charge. "You're outnumbered now." With Rusty's quick maneuvers and Justice's unwavering strength, they finally turned the tide against the gang. The bikers, realizing they were facing more than they had anticipated, began to falter in their assault. "Retreat!" the gang leader shouted, scrambling to escape. "This isn't over." As the gang members fled, Justice breathed a sigh of relief. "We did it!" he exclaimed, feeling a rush of triumph. Rusty landed beside him, slightly winded yet exhilarated. "I've never felt so alive. Did you see that? We really showed them." Sarah clasped her hands over her heart, astonished by their courage. "You both were incredible," she exclaimed, pride shining in her eyes. "You saved me and your home." But just as they began to celebrate their victory, Rusty let out a sudden pained cry, stumbling as he was thrown off balance by wearing himself out from the battle. "Rusty!" Justice rushed to his side, alarm coursing through him. "What's wrong?" I think I overdid it," Rusty stammered, trying to regain his footing but feeling drained. "Hang in there, buddy. We'll get you some help," Justice said, concern wrapping around him like a tight blanket. He turned to Sarah. "We need to take care of him." "Of course. Let's get him some water and a comfy spot to rest," Sarah said, her caring instincts taking over. "Justice, you did great. But we need to make sure Rusty recovers." As Sarah gently tended to Rusty, Justice felt a wave of gratitude wash over him. He had found more than just a partner. He had found a family. In that moment, surrounded by love and support, he remembered that even in the darkest times, there was always hope, warmed by the bonds they were forging together and the promise of a brighter future. As the sun began to rise the next morning, casting warm rays across the Manila National Forest, a sense of renewed hope enveloped the cabin. Justice, though still weary, felt a surge of responsibility towards Rusty. Seeing his unlikely friend vulnerable reignited the fierce protector within him. "Rusty, how do you feel?" Justice asked, settling down next to the ragdoll cat, whose energy from the previous night had dulled to exhaustion. "I'm all right," Rusty replied with a weak smile, though it was clear he struggled to keep his eyes open. "Just tired from the excitement. We really showed them." Justice nuzzled his companion, his wet nose resting against Rusty's cheek for a moment. "You fought bravely," he said, admiration lacing his voice. "I just hope they don't come back. We need a plan." Sarah entered the room, bringing with her a tray of warm food. "I thought you might both like some breakfast," she said cheerfully, but her expression changed when she noticed Rusty's fatigue. "Oh dear. Are you feeling all right, Rusty?" "I'm fine, Sarah. Just a tad worn out," Rusty replied, forcing his eyes to stay open as he tried to maintain his brave facade. After breakfast, Sarah turned to Justice. "We need to get you both checked out at the vet. You're both injured, and I want to make sure you're healing properly." Just then, the door swung open, and an officer entered, instantly drawing the attention of everyone in the room. "Officer Daniels," Justice exclaimed, his heart racing at the sight of his former handler. "Justice, I was worried sick about you," Officer Daniels said, rushing over to the dog. He knelt down, inspecting Justice's injuries closely. "It's good to see you alive, buddy. I'm sorry about what happened out there." "I can't believe you're here," Justice replied, tears of relief brimming in his eyes. "That gang, they left me for dead. Those thugs won't get away with it. Once I heard from Sarah about your situation, I came as quickly as I could," Officer Daniels assured him, glancing at Rusty with a mix of curiosity and admiration. "And who is this little hero?" "This is Rusty. He saved my life," Justice said proudly, looking at his friend. "He chose to help me even when it was dangerous." Officer Daniels smiled warmly at Rusty. "You've shown incredible bravery. It takes more than just claws and teeth to protect someone. It takes heart." Rusty perked up a little at the praise, finally allowing himself to feel a bit of pride. "I just did what felt right. I appreciate both of you more than you know," Officer Daniels said, standing up and turning serious again. "But we can't let that gang get away with this. I need to gather evidence from Sarah and make sure they're brought to justice." As Officer Daniels spoke, Rusty's ears perked up. What is your plan? I'll call in for backup, but I need you to share any information you remember about the gang, Justice. The more details we have, the stronger our case will be, Officer Daniels explained. Justice nodded, recalling the faces and the sounds of the gang. They had this one leader. He wore a leather jacket with a skull emblem. He instilled fear in the others. I think they said their name was the Iron Vipers. Good. I can work with that, Officer Daniels noted, jotting down notes. They've been on my radar for a while, but we need concrete evidence. A witness in your case would help a lot. I have everything on tape, Sarah interjected, holding up her phone. I recorded their threats from yesterday when they broke in. That's perfect, exclaimed Officer Daniels. We'll need to get that to the police department right away. But first, let's check you both out. He gave Justice and Rusty an encouraging pat. I'll make sure you're taken care of. After a brief visit to the veterinarian, both Justice and Rusty were treated for their injuries. Justice received bandages for his wounds, while Rusty was given a clean bill of health, just a little tired from the excitement. They returned to Sarah's cabin, feeling lighter and more hopeful. Do you think they'll catch the gang? Rusty asked as they settled back in. Now that we have a strong team, I believe so, Justice replied, remembering Officer Daniels' confidence. But we have to stay alert. If they come back, I won't let them hurt us again. Days turned into weeks, and while the atmosphere in the cabin felt increasingly secure, the threat of the gang still loomed, casting a shadow over their newfound happiness. Justice and Rusty worked together, training and preparing for any potential confrontations. They watched Sarah's garden grow and reveled in the normalcy of daily life, a stark contrast to the chaos they had previously faced. Yet every night, Justice would patrol the perimeter, ensuring their safety. Rusty often joined him. One particularly cold night, they were both huddled on the porch steps, the moonlight spilling gently around them. Do you ever think about what life would be like without this? Rusty asked thoughtfully, looking out into the dark, whispering woods. Justice thought for a moment. I used to think about being in the field, working alongside Officer Daniels. But now, I can't imagine not having you and Sarah by my side. It feels like home for the first time in so long. Home, Rusty repeated, testing the word on his tongue. I like that. It makes me think of family. Before long, their nights of quiet reflection were interrupted by the grumbling of motorcycles approaching from a distance. It's them, Justice growled low, adrenaline surging through him. Get inside, Rusty. No way. I'm staying with you, Rusty insisted, his claws digging into the wooden porch. Your safety comes first, Justice barked, eyes fixed on the approaching shadows. The rumble of engines grew louder as voices echoed through the trees. Looks like it's time we settle the score, Justice said fiercely as he took position protectively in front of the cabin. Bring it on, Rusty echoed boldly, his heart pounding in anticipation. As the gang members pulled into view, Justice stood tall, filled with loyalty and courage. With a fierce bark, he shouted, "You'll regret coming back." The bikers slowed, surprised to see Justice standing his ground alongside the ragdoll cat. Well, look who we have here. The mutt thought he could play hero. The leader taunted, revving the engine of his chrome-adorned bike. We're not afraid of you, Rusty shouted back defiantly, puffing up his fur. Funny, I think you should be. The leader stepped down from his bike, flanked by his men. With unyielding resolve, Justice prepared to defend his home, knowing that he had to protect not just himself, but Rusty and Sarah as well. Leave now, and I won't alert the police, he threatened, feeling the weight of his newfound family resting on his shoulders. Why would we do that? We want to finish what we started. The leader sneered, drawing closer, eyes gleaming with malice. Just then, out of nowhere, Officer Daniels arrived, sirens blaring and lights flashing. Step away from the cabin. You're surrounded, he commanded, stepping out of his vehicle, badge shining in the moonlight. Seeing the reality of their precarious situation, the gang members hesitated. We'll be back, Mutt, the leader shouted defiantly, signaling for his comrades to retreat. "Get in the car, let's go," another gang member urged, as they peeled away in a hurried escape. Justice watched as they vanished into the night, finally allowing himself to relax for the first time in weeks. Rusty scampered over to his side, eyes wide with excitement. "We did it!" Rusty cheered, jumping up and down. "We stood up to them." "You were incredible, Rusty," Justice said, feeling a surge of pride. "What's next, officer?" Rusty asked, turning to Daniels as he approached. Officer Daniels smiled, his presence radiating warmth and strength. "I'll make sure this gang is locked up for a long time. You all have done remarkable things, especially you two. You're heroes." Days passed and justice was finally served. The gang was apprehended, and with the evidence gathered from Sarah's phone and Justice's testimony, they were brought to trial. The news spread locally, and soon the tale of a brave dog and a clever cat saved by an elderly woman became a story of hope and resilience. As peace settled over their lives once again, Justice found himself resting contentedly by Sarah's fireplace one evening. Rusty curled up beside him. "It's nice, isn't it?" Rusty murmured, gazing at the flickering flames. "It is," Justice replied, understanding that home wasn't just a physical place. It was the love and loyalty they shared. Sarah strolled in with a cup of tea and a smile on her face. "You're both growing quite fond of being here, I see," she teased gently. Justice met Rusty's eyes, and he could feel the warmth of their bond carrying them forward. "We wouldn't trade this for anything," he finally said, feeling a surge of happiness. And with that realization, a new chapter began for Justice, Rusty, and Sarah. A family formed through loyalty, bravery, and an unbreakable spirit of friendship, proving that even in the darkest of times, love can light the way. The story emphasizes the profound bond between animals and humans, highlighting themes of loyalty, courage, and the transformative power of friendship. Justice, the K9 German Shepherd, and Rusty, the stray ragdoll cat, illustrate how acts of kindness can arise from the most unexpected circumstances, leading to healing, companionship, and a new sense of purpose. Their journey encapsulates the resilience required to overcome adversity and the importance of protecting those who cannot protect themselves. At its core, the story reminds us of the significance of compassion and solidarity among beings, demonstrating that true family can be formed not just by blood ties, but through shared experiences and unwavering support. It advocates for kindness towards all creatures, encouraging individuals to stand against injustice and lend a helping hand whenever possible. The narrative serves as a powerful metaphor for empathy, showing that even the fiercest challenges can be met with love and loyalty. We invite you to share your thoughts about this heartwarming tale. Please like this video, comment your feelings, and share the story with others to spread the message of hope and resilience. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you won't miss other meaningful stories like this one. Your engagement is a tremendous encouragement for us to continue creating content that inspires and uplifts. Every like, every comment, and every share helps us make a difference. Thank you so much for watching and being part of our storytelling community. Your support means the world to us. I hope this story of friendship and bravery continues to inspire you to appreciate the bonds we share. Until next time, take care, and remember to spread kindness everywhere you go.